station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
CNBC, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Shepard Smith of CNBC. How do you hear me?
Shepard, we hear you loud and clear.
Very good. Thank you very much. That sounded to me like, quick housekeeping, it sounded to me like we have about a 5-second delay. Is that about right, Englewood Cliffs?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
With us now, Colonel Mike Hopkins and Kate Rubins, both aboard the International Space Station. The space station is more than 20 years old. Guys, it's great to see you. Thanks so much. You recently had some leaks up there, which sounds a little scary down here. How worrisome was it for you, and how'd you handle it?
Yeah, so actually the leaks started before we arrived on board, and so it's been something that the teams up here, the teams on the ground have been looking at for quite a while now. They've got plans forward for how we're going to fix that, and so in general it was an event that wasn't sudden or anything of that nature. It was a slow leak, and so we've had some time to try and figure it out and understand where the problems are and to get them fixed.
A can of Fix-A-Flat usually works for me. Not telling you what to do, but if you feel like it, give it a try. Kate, you're one of the astronauts who will start training for the first human mission to the moon coming up in nearly 50 years, really. How cool is that, and what would it mean for you to be the first woman to set foot on the moon?
Well, thank you. It's an incredible group of people that we're training with here, and really this is the support team for the entire astronaut corps is working on this, as well as thousands of people at NASA. So I'm just pretty excited to be able to join the team. It's pretty amazing to see what we're doing. SLS has about 8.5 million pounds of thrust, so this is the heaviest rocket, the most powerful rocket we've ever built. And of course, I think everybody knows what going to the moon is going to mean to us as Americans, as well as all of our international partners. For me personally, I think there's an amazing amount of science to be done on the moon. When we end up going to Mars, we're going to be looking for microbes, and I think the moon is the ideal test bed as a negative control. This is really where we're going to be looking to test out a lot of our future deep space exploration plans.
So the thought of, well, I'll be the first woman, that's really not part of it for you. It's science-centered.
Absolutely. Hopper knows me well, and he'll tell you the same thing.
Understood. Colonel, last month you were sworn into the Space Force, the first Space Force Guardian actually in space. What do you hope this new branch of the military is able to accomplish?
It's a mission that the Air Force has had for quite some time now, and so really I think the Space Force is going to just ensure that space is available for everybody, for Americans, but really for all of our international partners as well. And so as we move forward, I think there's a lot of work to be done. It's not easy starting up a new service, and it was certainly a privilege for me to get to come over and join the newest service in the U.S. military.
You've both been up there for months. I'm curious what you found yourself doing that you never would have thought of, and what maybe you missed the most about things down here.
Well, so we're pretty busy. We've got about 12-hour shifts during the day. We are doing a lot of science up here, and then, of course, the maintenance to keep the station healthy. We do have a little bit of downtime, and we've got the entire 7 crew together, the Russian crew, the U.S. crew, our Japanese crewmate, and decided to try a little formation flying the other weekend. We thought we were going to be like the Blue Angels. We are not the Blue Angels, so we're going to get a little more practice in.
Well, that sounds like fun. I just wondered, are you reading anything good? How do you pass the time?
Yeah, it's really easy to pass the time up here. Sometimes we're doing things very similar to what is going on down at Earth. One of my favorite times is at night when we're all around the dinner table. We come from a lot of different backgrounds, several different countries, and so there's a lot of stories to share. And so we do spend a lot of time doing that after the long days are over. Some of the other things that you get to do up here is a little unique. We're practicing our green thumb. We're trying to grow some plants up here, so we've got some pak choy and red kale and lettuce growing, and so it's always fun to see a little bit of Earth up here in space. And then, of course, the other thing that's fun to do with your free time is just to look out the window. Because this is a unique perspective, it's a unique view, and so to spend 6 months up here and not spend time doing that would be a shame.
Oh man, I obviously I cannot even imagine. But sitting around the table, sharing stories with people from a world away with entirely different life experiences, I wonder if there's one that you've said, man, I'm going to remember that, and I'm going to tell people about that when I get home, because that perspective was interesting, and it made me think.
One of the stories that I often relate is my first flight when I was up here in 2013. And there were some world events that were going on at that time with our Russian colleagues. And so there was definitely a different perspective on those events. And yet at the same time, we were able to sit around that dinner table, have those discussions, understand each other's perspectives. And that's always stuck with me. It's always stuck with me that when you get down to the individual level, you more often can find a lot in common than the things that divide us.
Yeah, that's the truest thing I have heard all day. If we understand each other better, history says and experience indicates we'll all be better off together. But since you bring it up, there's some stuff going on down here you may have noticed, and I wonder what it's like to see these historic moments, a changing of the guard politically, and all that surrounded it at the Capitol last week. I wonder what it's like to be a witness to that from a world away, and if that's part of your discussions at all.
Yeah, we do try to stay in touch with home. There's an interesting thing that happens up here. We're close, but we're far away. So certainly our hearts are with everybody who's going through an incredible, difficult time right now. But we do get a unique perspective up here. We circle the globe every 90 minutes. We get to see places that probably will never go in our lifetime. And it's close. We pass over Houston, we wave. We pass over Washington, D.C., and we wave. So we are very far away, but we're also close. And our thoughts just are going out to everybody that's going through a difficult time. We know that this is a tough time, not just for America, but for the whole world. So we are with you.
Well, I won't speak for everyone else, but thank you for that. Knowing this interview was coming, I wondered, what must it be like to be so close but so far away and witnessing these historic moments? I wonder if there's a thing that you didn't realize you would miss while you're up there for all this time that you really can't wait to get back to when the time comes.
There's a lot of things that you miss. one of the things you always say is Earth is a great place, and it's good to be on Earth as well. But it's also very unique and fun to be up here. There's a few things that I didn't realize actually after my first mission that I missed until I got back on Earth, and one of those was the weather. Up here, it's always a nice, 70, 72 degrees. There's no breeze, there's no rain, there's no snow, and no wind. And yet, when I got back to Earth, it was one of the first weekends, and I was standing out in my backyard, and it's raining, and I was just letting the rain fall on me, and I realized how much I missed that. And so I kind of made a pledge to myself when I got back that I'm never going to complain about the weather again, because sometimes it's not until you miss it that you realize how much you enjoy it.
No rain in space. I love it. Over the years, I've had the real privilege and honor to speak to a number of people who were sitting in the places where you are. And I must admit, I hadn't thought about it, but most of them were men, and most of them had short hair. So we have a unique thing going on here. It's sort of like an elephant in the room. If I don't mention it, it would be weird. How do you handle your hair, which at this moment seems to be doing its own thing in its own way?
That is a great question. It definitely does its own thing. I keep it long because you can go from, very important to very quickly tacking it down when we gotta do a science experiment. But this is part of who I am, and I think one of the really neat things about being up here with people from all walks of life is the boys get to learn what it's like to have long hair around up here.
Actually, Shepard, when you started to ask that question, I thought you were talking about me, because it's been a while since I've had a haircut, and so I feel like it's getting a little long.
A lot of people down here in COVID quarantine would say the same thing. You're in a position, I know you're scientists and I know you're mission-driven, but you're also in a position where little boys and little girls down here look up and go, oh, man, look at that. I so want to do it. What do you say to those little kids who see you and say, I want to be you?
Well, when I was 12, I had the chance to go to a conference on recombinant DNA. That was really big then at the Exploratorium in San Francisco. And that's when I was the little kid looking at all these amazing things, thinking I could do this science. So NASA does a really incredible job of putting a lot of this on their education website, and it goes out to a lot of schools. And so when we're doing things that we know, a kid in a classroom or in a virtual learning program right now might be watching a NASA event and learning how we grow heart cells in space, how Hopper is growing plants in space, how we're studying the human body in space. This is really a great thing to do educationally, and we keep in mind that we're mission-driven and we're mission-focused, but we do keep in mind the educational aspect, and we know that kids everywhere are studying space, they're studying science, they have really big dreams, and that's a pretty motivating factor.
Colonel Hopkins, if there's a little one down here who says, I want to do that when I grow up, would your advice be to him, yeah, go ahead, or maybe learn banking?
No, it's definitely worth it. I'm actually going to, steal a few lines from our crewmate up here, Victor Glover. I think he has a lot of good advice for the young kids that are thinking about this, getting into STEM. And he talks about you got to be gritty. This is going to be hard. It's not an easy thing to get into STEM and to eventually find your way into the astronaut corps or find your way into space. And so you got to have a little bit of grit to make it happen. The other thing that I like that he says you got to be a lifetime learner, and so that is very true. I mean, I'm getting up there a little, and I'm still learning something every day. And so you're always learning, and embrace that. It's great to do. And then something that I always believe as well is you got to be passionate. Find something that you really love and you're passionate about. Astronauts come from all walks of life, and if you're passionate about it, there's a good chance that's going to shine through, and you're going to have a chance to pursue this dream of coming up into space.
Well, you inspire us and you make us so proud, and I can't thank you enough for your service to our nation and your contributions to a better world. Godspeed, be well, and I hope to have a chance to speak with either or both of you when you return to Earth. Many, many thanks to you and your colleagues.
Thank you, Shepard. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of the whole Expedition 64 crew, thank you. Thank you for what you do as well, and to all your audience out there.
Very good. NASA, thank you all. We'll do our best to put something great together here. Many thanks.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants from CNBC. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.